I'm going to be honest with you. The result of Tuesday's presidential election has been challenging to absorb. The election of a candidate who has in his words and deeds expressed beliefs and standards that run counter to the very principles to which the organization I lead, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, has been devoted since its founding in 1940 by Thurgood Marshall, has been a tough pill to swallow. That belief in racial justice and equality, in equal opportunity, and in the dignity of every person within our borders, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, or national origin, lies at the core of all of our work. We're aware that the president-elect's election may portend difficult days ahead for that work. We recognize that the outcome of Senate races may mean that the Supreme Court may ultimately shift radically to the right. And yet, we are not cowed or frightened. When this country embraced Jim Crow, when our then president refused to champion and Congress refused to enact anti-lynching legislation, while hundreds of black men were savagely killed by mob violence each year, when Southern congressmen and governors demanded massive resistance to the Supreme Court's desegregation decision in Brown versus Board of Education, a case we litigated, when people said that a conservative Supreme Court wouldn't uphold key provisions of the Fair Housing Act or affirmative action, when people doubted that activism and litigation could successfully challenge stop and frisk in New York, we didn't panic and we didn't blink. We fought on and we won. Today, we stand on the shoulders of the great leaders and the ordinary men and women whose courage ensured that the fight for justice and equality would move forward. We are their inheritors, and their determination is in our blood and sinew. The new president will take office in January, and with leadership comes responsibility. We will not waver in our demand for responsible leadership from the next president. President Obama said this week that the peaceful transition of power is the hallmark of our democracy, but so is equal justice under law. So is due process. So is the rule of law itself. These are principles enshrined in our nation's laws, and they are the guiding principles of the Legal Defense Fund. They are what we rightfully expect and demand as people who reside in this nation and whose forebears fought and died to give those words meaning. This country is divided. It always has been. But those of us who believe in equality and justice are not without power and influence. Our challenge now is to strategically deploy that power and influence in a political environment that will often be hostile to our beliefs. So that's our work in the coming months and weeks, honing and sharpening our strategy to ensure that even during this tough time, the needle of equality and justice moves ever forward. We're neither afraid nor deterred. In fact, I am even more committed to this great work. With our brilliant attorneys, our committed organizers, our faithful staff, and most importantly, with you, we can still do this. You'll see us, you'll hear us, and we want to hear you. Follow our litigation and our policy efforts. Stay informed by visiting our website. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Come to our events. But most of all, find your own way to lead, to learn, to demand, to speak your truth. You have more power than you know, and we're not going anywhere.